All right, we're live. Welcome to the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast. I am your host once again, Chris Kirkwood. Kirkdiese here with my boys, Brett Hartfield, KillaB 2482, and some other schmuck, JSURab, John Surabian. And I say that because I think he had a pretty bad week last week. So how's it going, fellas?
I'm doing all right. We got in a little heated debate about a little Kyrie Irving before the show. So Chris is bringing the anger. Hopefully, this
yeah. Well, I totally disagree with his Kyrie Irving take, but we're not even going to talk about that. How was the King of the Beach, John? Oh, you weren't there. Oh, sorry.
You know what?
You know why? You don't deserve it. You won enough, okay? Like, you don't deserve it. Kid was the guy. He was complaining that he wasn't at the King of the Beach because he would have won that too. I really felt bad.
That's not what I said. Well, maybe I did say that.
All right,
whatever. Okay.
So tell the people about your week. That's what everyone wants to hear. You shipped it big again. Go. How many lineups?
Yeah. So I made. I think it was 7. I had 7 lineups made on DK.
Was that because, like, lucky number 7? Are you, like, superstitious or anything?
Actually, so, yes. Yes, actually.
Good. Somebody else is like me out there. Nice.
No, seriously, last year when I went to the Draft Live final, I shipped the Wildcat, and I had 7 lineups in there.
Science.
And I swear to God, it's just like I don't make 7 lineups exactly every week. Every week it changes.
But when you do, you win a couple hundred. You win at least $100K.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I should just make 7 lineups every week because it's worked out the 2 times I've done it. So.
All right, so break it down quickly.
Yeah, I'll just break it down. So real quick, I pretty much faded Spencer Ware in 2 of the 7 lineups. I pretty much matched the field. And those 2 lineups happen to be my best 2 lineups. I pretty much, in the best lineup I had, I stacked Jameis with Humphreys and Godwin. And then I pretty much, as opposed to going cheap at running back, went high price. I told you guys about Todd Gurley last week on the pod. I felt like he was going to be a little overlooked. McCaffrey was an obvious play. I had him in there. And then I had Philip Lindsay, who, was just way too cheap for his price. And then I brought it back with some Broncos D and Corey Davis.
Oh, you didn't even have Kelsey.
No, I didn't have Kelsey. I had Eric Ebron. Corey Davis was the guy I had, the only guy I had left for the 4:00 games. And that was the worst. It was the worst sweat I've ever had. So apparently I was in first for a while. I had no idea. I think my cousin told me this after the fact because he was like following it or whatever.
You have your cousins sweating your lineups for you?
Yeah. But like I didn't even know that I was in first like ever. But apparently I was in first for a while and it was, like because no one had Corey Davis near me. But then Travis Kelce, like once he got past like that 30 mark, 35 mark, whatever it was, I think one guy got by me. And then when Spencer Ware got that 4th and 1 touchdown, it got a few people ahead of me. And then Corey Davis ended up scoring late and then ended up tying for second.
Dude, Spencer Ware ran good too. Spencer Ware ran good to get like people value from that play.
So I was right there with you. I made 3 lineups. I only scored 192 in my highest. I had the Jameis Hump Godwin stack. I just loved that stack. I had
only 192, by the way. That's a sick week with how low the.
Well, I didn't enter it in the stupid. I don't even want to get into it. I made some stupid mistakes because I decided to max out under the 10, so I didn't freaking throw it in the 333 Wildcat, which would have got me like 10K or whatever. But I had Kelsey with that. I had McCaffrey. I had Aaron Jones, who was so tilting, and I was so glad when McCarthy got fired. And the problem was I had the Broncos D, which was nice. I ate the chalk Spencer Ware. If I just went up to Lindsey and I had Galladay, if I just moved down with Galladay, because it didn't really matter what you did at wide receiver, everyone was crap for most of it. And if I just got Lindsey in there, man, I would have been off.
Yeah, it was all about getting exposure to the Tampa Bay wide receivers. Felt like last week. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I had decent exposure to Philip Lindsay, and I kind of got off that and bought more of the Aaron Jones. Like I was kind of off with Aaron Jones until Sunday morning. And then
Me too. I was off Aaron Jones till like Saturday. It's when I came around and I was like, I'm finally – I remember I was even texting with you. I was like talking Yahoo. I was like, Aaron Jones is going to be popular. And I'm
pretty sure you were the lowest on Aaron Jones when we did the podcast.
I was all about David Johnson as the pivot in that game.
Right.
And then
Philip Lindsay was –
you listen to enough touts. If you listen to enough tout shows – by the end of Friday, Saturday, you're like, Aaron Jones, baby, Aaron Jones. You know, it's like.
Philip Lindsay made sense because of his big playability, and then Cincinnati giving up big plays on the ground. Like it just made sense.
No, he was an awesome play. The only thing was your touch. You know, the fact that he was sharing touches. So
sure.
The snap counts may have been a little off for you, Brett. You know.
Yeah, I have another.
But I smashed Yahoo, so I had a really good week for me. And speaking of Yahoo, I noticed that somebody on here is in first place of the whatever their free roll is that they do.
Yeah, it's called the Yahoo Cup.
Yeah, you pick a lineup every single week. I remember checking there, and I think I recognized KillaB 2482 staying at the top with saying that he's due $50,000 as of today.
Yeah, so like if people aren't like familiar with Yahoo, they have like these. It's like a season-long DFS for each sport, and each week they do it for each sport. And the NFL version, it's 150,000 like total, but then 50,000 a first. And I didn't realize like I had a shot until a few weeks ago, but I had a monster week this past week in Yahoo. And now I am sitting on top of the hill, baby. So there's 4 weeks left. Still very, not likely that I take this thing down, but being in first by, 5 or 6 points feels pretty good right now.
Yeah, good luck, man.
That's sick.
I'll be sweating it. I'll be peaking.
Yeah, and the crazy part too, I think, is just the amount of people that are in it. It's like it's over 450,000 people. Most of them are obviously season-long players. I think they promote the Yahoo Cup on their season-long, so I'm sure like 95 to 99% are basically season-long, just drawing dead.
And shout out to Yahoo for allowing me to have Jalen Samuel at tight end this weekend for championship week. I was pretty happy with that. All right, so good luck to you. Be another huge score for the pod here.
Yeah.
And all right, we've got week 14, 13 games here. Things are getting a little bit crazy. It's getting a little bit more difficult, I think, some of these lineup builds. I mean, hopefully we'll avoid the whole Spencer Ware situation, although, like, people are popping up on injury report. Have you seen the Colts injury reports? Like, nobody's practiced in 2 days, it seems like.
Yeah, very limited practice with, like, most of their players, so.
But anyways, so hopefully we avoid some massive chalky situation, but I think it's kind of a wide open slate, to be honest. How are you guys, what do you guys think about this right off the bat?
Yeah, in comparison to last week you had, so many chalky plays, like cash games almost somewhat built themselves. And it was like one of those weeks where I just kind of like looked in my heads up in 50-50s to see who was making mistakes last week. Cause I felt like there's only a few real decisions to be made in cash games. So on a week like that, it's tough to play tournaments for me because I have such a cash game mentality. But this week, I don't feel like there's too many chalk plays, which is awesome. So I feel like on the main slates, I know, John, you said you like to make 7 lineups. I usually just keep building until like I don't feel good about my lineups anymore. So I really like a lot of game stacks this week, which haven't been hitting for me lately, but there's definite games that I want to have exposure to.
Listen, it's just the lucky number 7. right? It's not an every week thing, you know.
Dude, I get it. I do that. I get it. I have lucky shirts. I have a red shirt that I put it on some, like, it depends. Like when I need to go for it, like when it gets serious, I put it on. Like it's gotta get serious.
Put on your Batman underwear too.
Celtics. You know, I got my Celtics gear on. You know.
Problem is, I ruin my underwear. My underwear just doesn't last very long. Yeah. It's always some sort of accident.
TMI, baby.
Back to the slate. You know, right off the bat, there's so many games. You know, we're at the point back to the season where, you know, there's 13 games now. There's tons of options, a lot of good players. You know, we don't get Todd Gurley on the main slate. You know, there's a few guys missing, but for the most part, we get like a good group of running backs, which will kind of spread out the ownership a little bit.
We've got the chalky value guys who also have some risk associated with them for sure, so which can make them that chalky. We also have to worry about teams laying down at this point in the season, like that are pretty much eliminated from the playoff pictures. Like you saw, like Jacksonville just laid an egg in Tennessee tonight completely. Like we can all like see that they've actually, you know, rolled over. Yeah, I mean, so those are worries too. So I think it's like completely wide open.
Yeah, I feel also we got injury news too. My bad. Kind of big injury news with some of these teams. Landon Collins out for the Giants. That's big for their defense. He's like their best defender.
Yeah, but they're playing Mark Sanchez.
I'm just saying. And then you've got Chris Harris, best cornerback on the Broncos, out. Emmanuel Sanders just done for the year. Terrible.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Stings for that guy. But, I mean, that opens up value. Whether you want to play Hamilton or, you know, Cortland Sutton, who's obviously probably, you know, their best option there right now. But, you know, there's choices to be made. So it should be an interesting slate. There's a lot of ways to go.
All right. Should we start it off by, like, our favorite games, or should we talk about overview position from position and then get into our favorite games?
Yeah, let's do that.
So let's talk about quarterback. Let's lead the way here. So we're going to have probably Mahomes is going to be the chalkiest, but it's a tough matchup for sure against Baltimore. He did look – I mean, obviously they crushed the Raiders, and he looked awesome, but he did miss a lot of throws in that game and wasn't as smooth sailing as it could have been for sure. And I know that the Tyreek owners out there are upset because he kind of missed them on some big plays. But to me, it's all about karma. I think I couldn't play Ty Freak last week after the whole Kareem Hunt stuff. I just couldn't. I don't know. It wasn't going to feel good winning with Ty Freak.
Oh my gosh.
Domestic violence. Do you guys agree with that or no? Like that's like a lucky number set. I just avoided him.
I mean, I think I had him in one lot, like in a Pat Mahomes stack lineup. But I mean,
I read about that.
And I don't agree with, you know, what
his off the field antics in the past.
Off the field antics.
Did you know what he did? What he did was horrendous.
No, it's terrible.
I tweeted an article.
You sent me the article.
Yeah.
Remember? You sent me me and Brett the article, and I read it. God,
the crazy part.
Forever to read. It took me like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
I know. I didn't make it through the whole thing, but I picked up the important parts.
I bet you, like, it wasn't even that big of a deal, like, at that time, because it was, like...
Choking out your pregnant girlfriend and hitting her in the stomach?
Because he was in college at the time?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a superstar at that point. Like,
exactly. So, like, after the whole Kareem Hunt gets exposed, like, then, like, you know, that story got exposed a lot more.
Well, that's why he dropped down in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But that's not something I was aware of.
I remember it, but yeah, I guess I didn't like know like the whole the article that you sent was pretty ridiculous.
Sorry, we went off. No, we'll do politics for another day, but you finish it up, JSU.
I'm done talking about Tyreek Hill. What he did was terrible. I don't even want to. Let's not even talk about that anymore. I want to talk about Todd Gurley, that scumbag, a guy who literally the game is not over. What are you doing running across instead of crossing the end zone what are you doing? You're at the 1 yard line. You're running. Like, what is going on? And then you fall down. The game is not over. You're down 7 points. 7.
You're
You
up
still
7
need to
points.
score, or I'm sorry, you're up 7, and you still need to score. So it's a 2-possession game. You can fumble. All these things can happen. The other team still had 2 timeouts. What were you thinking? There was still the 2-minute warning. Made no sense. It made no sense. The guy is an idiot. He wasn't thinking right. I'm sorry. It was not a smart football play. The first time he did it, it was a smart football play because the game was over when you
All right,
did it.
why are we
That's
talking
the
about
only
this?
time you do that. Because it was dumb.
JSU had a little steam that he let out.
All right, good. You got it
He had a
out?
little anger in his heart.
You
Yes.
good? You
I'm
good?
done.
You good, my man? All right. So now let's talk quarterbacks. Before I took us down this long road, we were at Mahomes. He's probably going to be the chalkiest. We got Drew Brees, and that's probably the game of the week with famous Jameis, but there's some little weather issues there. Phillip Rivers against a horrible Cincy defense, and he's setting efficiency records like Phillip Rivers, just being super efficient with his throws. And then you got Ben Roethlisberger maybe, and then we got the Aaron Rodgers narrative, and we got Lamar Jackson, who's certainly can run against this KC defense. That KC defense just looked horrendous last week, didn't it?
Terrible.
I mean, we got Jameis, we've got Cam, we've got Deshaun. This is like the most wide open spot I've ever seen on any week.
Yeah, I don't think that, like when you said chalk, I don't think any quarterback's truly going to be chalk.
No, he won't be. He'll be the highest owned, is what.
Maybe the highest owned might be like 12, 13%.
No, I'm thinking like 15 to 20%, somewhere in there.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's that high. Because
It's super spread out, I think.
when you said Patrick Mahomes is going to be the chalk, I kind of thought like maybe there was going to be another guy up there. So like,
What were you thinking?
I mean, I would have to like bunch these together too. Like Jameis, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, like for $1,000 cheaper, I think are going to be more chalkier than Mahomes. But could be wrong.
I think Roethlisberger is going to be more than him too.
Sure, without the running back, obviously, no Connor this week.
And then you get Aaron Rodgers against Atlanta for $6K with the firing of the coach.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a great
I
game.
want to hear you guys' take on that because he's a guy who I seem to just love this week. I feel like it's going to be one of those spots where he just wants to like
Be in the spotlight for a game.
yes, yeah, and he just wants to show
They
that.
fired the coach, Aaron Rodgers. They let him loose.
Yep, exactly. I don't know. It feels like the right spot to play some Aaron Rodgers. Are you guys on him or?
I don't
sure.
want to be like I hate the guy, but like I feel like you're right. I feel like it's a spot. But then I'm like torn with Aaron Jones. Like, or is this
Right.
going to be like the finally unleash Aaron Jones? But really, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers calling the plays. And that's another thing that worries me is that Philbin is horrendous. This isn't like a good coach stepping in. He screwed up Miami's offense for forever. But I think is what ultimately is going to happen is it's going to be Aaron Rodgers calling his own plays. And if that's the case, the way that's going to be him and Devontae.
I really think both are very like great tournament plays. Like if you want to do an Aaron Jones and then bring it back with Atlanta passing, or even just going passing for both. There's a lot of different ways to go in this game. Obviously, one of my favorite game stacks. Wish this game was in Atlanta instead of Green Bay, but like that's obviously something that we're going to want to pay attention to is just make sure weather is clean in Green Bay for this game. But if it is, like I want to stack a lot of this, and I think Aaron Jones and Rodgers are both available or both viable. By the way, last weekend on Sunday was both of their birthdays, Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones.
Yeah, no,
both had birthday narratives. Like, so if you think like they were going to both go off, like, I mean, geez, how do they not go off on their birthdays?
Because it's not NBA.
Yeah.
All right. So let's keep diving in here. Like, how do we feel about Drew Brees?
Not as like high on Drew Brees this week. It feels like these Saints Tampa Bay games, they go off in New Orleans and they're not as high scoring in Tampa. So I'm not as interested in that game, as probably the field's going to be. I mean, I know it's the highest over-under for the slate, so there's going to be plenty of ownership there. But not in general. But I do like the cheap wide receivers there. So I'm going to want exposure to Godwin again this week.
Keith.
What's that?
Keith Kirkwood.
Yeah, I think I would like Godwin, but Traquan Smith. Because Traquan's hurt people the last few weeks, I think since Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving he had one target, and then he was out last week. So his price has kind of just gone down, been in the middle, and I wouldn't mind getting exposure there, but not totally in love with stacking this game though. Yeah,
I'm with you with the Traquan. I think that Drew Brees is better play than you though. Just to me, right off the bat, Tampa Bay, their defense isn't good. New Orleans is coming off their worst game of the year by far. Drew Brees is coming off his worst performance by far. This is just he's going to carve these guys up. To me, this is what's going to happen. I like Drew Brees this week.
It's Kamara time.
Yeah, that's fine.
That I'm there with. I mean, I guess this game does make a lot of sense because I do like Kamara. I like Traquan. I don't know. If this game was in New Orleans, I would love it so much more.
So the total in this game opened at, I think it was like 58. It dropped down to like 56 or 55 and then went back 55. Up to like, it's at 55 now?
Yep.
Is that what it is now? So it's dropped 3 points since it opened. So that's just, people are, I don't know if everyone is as high on this game as you might think.
That Packer-Falcon game's gone up 2.5 points, so that's the biggest surge up, and the biggest surge down would be the New Orleans at Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I'm high in this game, man. I'm high in the Tampa Bay game every week. Jameis looks pretty good for being Jameis. He did almost throw a pick.
That's something that we could talk about. Last week, Tampa Bay's over-under really went down on like Saturday and Sunday. I think they lost like maybe 4 points in that game. So a lot of people got off of Jameis and Cash.
Not this guy.
Yeah, I stuck with Jameis quite a bit in Cash. I mean, obviously I was pretty worried once I started seeing the over-under drops so drastically, but I kept with that exposure, and luckily the game still kind of came through the way we thought it would. But, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care when game lines drop. But I had definitely heard about it, and I heard about the weather, but I just kind of ignored that too. But I'm full throttle with this game. We'll get into it, but I guess running back position we didn't really talk about. Let's just talk about the two, Jalen Samuels and Jeff Wilson. Right? They're gonna get some ownership this week. They're dirt cheap, $3,800 for Wilson, $3,700 for Samuels. What are your guys' thoughts with these guys for tournaments?
JSU, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so Wilson Jr., I watched that whole game, and he looked really good. Also, the San Francisco offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in the league. They have, I think, the best running scheme. Like they're set up to run the ball. Teams know what they're doing, and they're still just, executing, and they're really good at it. So I think he is a good play. I like him a lot. They are at home, San Francisco. He's gonna, obviously, as long as he doesn't get injured, I think he's gonna play the majority of the snaps. I think they want to see what this kid can do, as a featured guy. He was actually playing a lot before Breida even got hurt, too. That was the other thing. They were giving him run last week. Even when Breida was healthy, they were he was in the game for, I think, 1 or 2 series in a row, and then he got kind of hurt a little bit, and Breida came in, and then Breida ended up getting hurt, and he came back in the game. But he was looking really good when he was in the game. So I like him. I like him this week. Obviously, his price is cheap. And then you've got, Jalen Samuels, who they say they're going to split carries with Ridley. I don't know. When was the last time Pittsburgh has split carries with a running back? I feel like this is one of those things where if he's off to a hot start, they're going to lean more towards him. Maybe it's 60 or 70% as opposed to 50-50. If Ridley gets, off to a hot start, maybe they give him the lead. So it's definitely a gamble. But at 3,700, the way they use the back in Pittsburgh against Oakland, it's tough not to look at.
I got news for you. With the way that he works out of the catching passes, it's not a gamble at 3,700. It's like extra upside is what we're gambling on, in my opinion, with the way that they use the running back, like you said, in Pittsburgh and in the passing game involvement. And he's the clear passing game guy between the two of them. So I think he's an awesome play this week.
So the one thing that I will say is Antonio Brown has gotten 13 targets in the last 3 games. And one thing that I do worry about, I think Ben is just literally kind of abandoning some of what they've been doing and just trying to force the ball to AB. Even when it's not there sometimes, he'll look to him as opposed to dumping off to the running back. That's something like I've been watching for the last couple weeks. And then if you've noticed, Connor's production has gone down the last couple of weeks. And I think that's one of the reasons. His last 2 games, he's only had 4 targets out of the backfield. So not saying that they're totally just dismissing him, but the past 3 games, Antonio Brown's had 13 targets. Connor had 9 one game, then 4 and 4 the last 2. So, I hope that they would look there, but I'm just saying, I think with this guy in the game, I think even more Ben's going to look to guys that he trusts more. Still, I like Samuels, but I don't think it's a 100%, sure thing like you do, Chris.
I didn't say 100% sure thing.
Or whatever.
I think he's an awesome play. Now, I do worry more about Wilson, to be honest with you, but I do like I just don't see – I mean, the 49ers are not going to be able to run against Denver.
The way I would compare the two is just you have Jeffrey Wilson, undrafted, Jalen Samuels drafted. Jalen Samuels also is kind of just – he's got way better measurables. Like anytime like a rookie steps into a role, I mean, the first thing I do is kind of just look at what type of guy he was in college.
Playerprofiler.com.
Yeah, so Jalen Samuels really, his workout metrics look a lot better. But, I mean, the downside there is obviously possible timeshare. Whereas Jeffrey Wilson, I mean, it should be mostly him. We'll have to see if San Fran activates Alfred Morris this week, which I'm assuming they do. But if they don't activate Alfred Morris, I think Jeffrey Wilson becomes the play because –
Oh, no. He's an even worse play. Morris is going to have no success. Sorry, this is just my one disagreement, and I'm probably wrong, but this is my thoughts on it anyway.
Yep.
Nobody's running on Denver. 3.5 yards per carry over the last 6 weeks. Haven't allowed a single touchdown in any of those games. They've faced Mixon, Connor, Melvin Gordon, Lamar Miller, Kareem Hunt, and David Johnson. Now, yes, he's going to get the passing work, right? And that'll be there for him, I think, regardless in this game. I just don't see them having any success rushing the ball. And then I look at the other thing you've got Samuel, who's at least going to have the opportunity to be the number 1 running back. He's starting, right? He's going to be the starting running back for a team that's a 12-point favorite against the Oakland Raiders. You know what I mean? So there's just touchdown equity there. Whether he realizes it or not, that's up in the air, but it's there for him.
So one other guy that I just want to throw out there, since we're at this price point, is what's his name? Justin Jackson for the Chargers. So Anthony Lynn, the head coach, basically his presser a couple days ago just said that Austin Eckler is kind of just worn down, and to expect to see Justin Jackson get more work. But then he also did say that this Detrez guy who's like the third string running back will also see some work. So that's a spot where they're 2 touchdown favorites at the same price point, 3,800. I think could be pretty sneaky.
I think he's a good play too. I agree. He looks really good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he had 8 carries last week. Got in the zone. And I know you were all happy about that, Kirkwood, because
I was fading Eckler.
Yeah, we were fading Eckler last week, and I was so surprised how highly popular Eckler was across the industry. The only reason why I liked Eckler was his pass catching abilities. I didn't think he would be able to get off on the ground, which he didn't. But
you'd be surprised what an optimizer will do for ownership. You see somebody popping in an optimizer,
right?
Which Eckler was, you knew he was going to be high owned, at least on the sites that I was talking about. Yahoo is what we're referring to here, right? In this situation, because that was only Sunday. They were on the that was the only site that had that game.
Yeah, he was like the 3rd highest owned on Yahoo.
Yep, that felt good. I think I remember texting you, is it bad that I'm rooting for a minor injury for Eckler here tonight?
Yeah, to root for an injury. So
I said minor. Minor 1 week.
I'm sure all of his family members appreciate the minor injury.
Yeah, nothing serious. All right. Any other? What about? Okay, so now let's talk about the top end guys. Obviously, so we've got value. We've got that's going to be lineup construction. The value with one of these top end guys. So we've got Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, who's just been going absolutely nuts, and with Cam's shoulder problems, just makes a lot of sense when he's such a work. And if you want snaps, Brett, that's your guy right there, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, he hasn't come off the field the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be pretty strong, I think, on Ezekiel Elliott this week. So Cowboys play Eagles, and the Eagles' defense, especially the defensive line, was a line to avoid versus running backs earlier in the year. But the last 4 weeks, they've been just getting roasted. AP had 9 carries for 98 yards and a touch. The week before that, Saquon, 142 total yards, 7 catches, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was like that 90-yarder. That was such luck, one play.
True.
And he finished the game with 98 yards.
Yeah, right. But okay, so Kamara and Ingram, and they've faced actually very elite talent here. But Kamara and Ingram, they combined for 211 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Zeke 4 weeks ago got him for 187 total yards, 6 catches, and 2 touchdowns. So I think this is a spot where I go right back to the well at home. It feels like a monster spot where McCaffrey I would expect to be easily the highest owned out of these two, but I think Zeke has the same upside here, and you'll get him for a lot less ownership.
Yeah.
Yep, I can agree with this. I was going to go to you next anyway, Jay.
Yes. So I like Ezekiel Elliott too. One of the main reasons, besides obviously, the stats that Brett pointed out about how Philly has been, a little easier to run against the last 4 weeks. But one of the main reasons that I love is this line for Dallas is starting to really get healthy. They're getting Tyrone Smith back, which a lot of people probably won't even realize. But he should be back playing this week. And that for me is a huge, huge key for this offensive line. I mean, he's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. Definitely a very important guy for Dallas. And I think that, along with the fact that Zeke already ripped this team up in Philly a couple weeks ago, and they've been getting gashed since. It seems like a really good play again, just to go back to it. McCaffrey's going to be high owned. Everyone's going to go there. Kamara and Barkley, I think, are also good plays. I would lean Kamara if I had to choose between the two, but I still think Barkley's a good play too. I think Barkley comes in as the 4th highest or the lowest out of those 4 to me in ownership.
I like Zeke a lot. I just like his passing work. I like everything. Like the threat of Amari Cooper, the fact has now made this offense, it's helped Gallup, who's starting to come on a little bit last week. So they have like the passing threat now that should just help here. And also, like you guys said, the Eagles defense is just leaking production now because it starts with their terrible secondary, but that just leaks all the way to, they have to cover up a lot of stuff, and it ends up leaving a lot of holes. And plus you get Zeke's passing work. So there's just a lot of upside. So I totally agree with your take, Brett, that he's got a lot of upside closest.
Something that I wanted to mention too, to like obviously the listeners and you guys, is just like another ownership thing that I've been using quite a bit is right from RotoGrinders. It's called FanShare, and they have like a FanShare buzz score, and then they also have a FanShare sentiment rating. And I really like this because what it does is like the buzz score, it mainly is just tracking the mentions like on Twitter, and I don't know.
It scours all of like the sites, and it looks for mentions and articles. But
I feel like that's way more accurate than like just trusting one person or a site's like, percentage own. I've been kind of utilizing that for sure on Sundays when I'm building tournament lineups. So I would look at that like between the sentiment ratings and the buzz scores. That feels like very, very a lot more accurate than some of the ownership ratings that I've been using before. I
disagree. I think Jamino is just the best thing ever. 100% on everything. He's 100% accurate. He's got an R squared of.
Yeah, it is tough though, man. Like, I mean, once news drops, to be able to get to that and for you to like, to get the exact ownerships properly. Like, I mean, it's tough when it's one person manning the ship. So.
All right. So what about Saquon?
Yeah. This week, I feel like I'm going to be lighter on Saquon.
That's the guy who's going to be lower owned.
That's it. I said it. He's going to be the lowest owned out of those high-priced guys. I think that's a great tournament pivot. He's just, honestly, like pure running back talent. Like, he's like one of, probably the two best running backs in the league, just from a pure talent perspective.
Who's the other one?
I think it'd probably be him and, I don't know, Elliott, probably.
David Johnson, man, still up there.
No, stop it, David Johnson. No way.
So good. He's so good.
He's amazing. If you give him a real line, he'd be good.
Give him a real anything, coach.
No.
Yes.
All right, go on.
You take David Johnson over both those guys?
I mean, Saquon, I would have rated super high. I mean, either one or two. But to me, David Johnson's right there. We can see like how much just game flow offense matters, coaching, just play calling matters. I mean, nothing better than looking at Todd Gurley, his career, like just when dealing with a Jeff Fisher versus, what he has now around him. It's just,
I made those. I was so high on. I drafted Gurley in season long everywhere last season, and I had so many arguments with friends about like that everyone, because it was the big in vogue thing to say that Todd Gurley is terrible. He's awful at football. But I was like, you gave him he had Jeff Fisher, no quarterback, and a horrible offensive line and stacked boxes, and like you're just gonna write him off. This guy is super athletic. Talented and whatever. I ended up
right. I don't act like I'm a scout. I just look at like, everything, together as a whole, right? You just take a step back and you can see like how much David Johnson has working against him,
exactly.
Barkley, but it's like the same thing though. I mean, the boxes are stacked for him. Eli Manning can't throw worth a damn.
But he got worked in like catching the ball right from the get-go. Like
he breaks huge plays, but he's not like a yard per carry guy.
I mean,
but I'm saying
like 20 targets.
Perspective,
it's the targets with him.
Talented guy. No, I'm just saying from a talent perspective, he is the most talented guy. I think he is the most talent.
All right, let's talk. So, yes, he's so talented that we're going to want to play him this week.
Dude, did you see him jump over that defender, though, last week? That was one of the most athletic I've ever seen on a football.
All right, I'm going to throw out a couple of flyer plays here, and you guys tell me if you like him or hate him. I like Sony Michel this week. I think this is finally a Sony Michel game when everyone is, like, thinking that this total crowded backfield with Burkhead and he hasn't looked great recently, whatever. But I think this is a game where it's just going to happen for him. I also like Kenyon Drake on the other side.
That's your boy.
With Tannehill, he's their most targeted receiver, period. Sure. And like, they're going to be down in this game, even though New England struggles in Miami. There's that narrative, but I don't think it'll be that big of a problem this week. And then who else did I like? I got to remember here. I can't remember the last one, but I want your thoughts on Nick.
Lindsay, duh.
Of course I like him, but okay. Nick Chubb is going to be low owned. Do we like him or hate him? It's a tough matchup against Carolina's run D.
Yeah, I don't have much love because I think at that price point I'm gonna want to go with Philip Lindsay again. Now I assume Philip Lindsay at that price point will be somewhat chalkier just because of his week last week, but I think I'm pretty confident that Denver can go into San Fran here and at least look pretty good versus that San Fran offense. So
I'll tell you, I just remembered who I'm playing. I'm playing LaShawn McCoy.
Oh yeah,
I knew that was it. I didn't want to say anything.
Do you like it or hate it? How'd you know? I never like McCoy.
Because
you brought him up last week, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. But so I had a buddy call me up today, and he was talking to me about how LaShawn McCoy, he loves him this week, and he was just saying how whenever the Bills are like favored, he has good games. It's like a
couple times a year.
Yeah. And they're at home. They're at home against the Jets defense that's just done.
Twice a year. He plays the Jets and like one other terrible team like Miami and Buffalo.
And the Jets team is done. It's just over. They've rolled over.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything against Miami, and Miami's run these trash.
Yeah, but
3 weeks ago in New York,
he wasn't at home.
3 weeks ago in New York, 26 carries, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So
he's gonna double that.
Yeah, that's a lot of touches. Like that's.
I like Sony. I like the Sony Michel call.
He's only had 2 games where he went over 18 touches or 18 carries this year. So
he's had 18 to 19 touches the last 2 games.
Right. So 18. He's only gone twice over, I should say, 17.
Josh Allen is starting to open up this offense a little bit. Maybe this will alleviate some of the pressure. They work with him in the passing game, so he's at home. Jets have rolled over. I think this is the week you finally play LaShawn McCoy, and make sure I remember that, you guys. All so, right. Even if you guys don't agree, just
how haven't we talked about David Johnson this week?
Because no one's playing David Johnson this week.
What? Really?
Nobody's playing David Johnson this week.
I think David Johnson. David Johnson. So like when you brought up Nick Chubb, I think David Johnson would be more of the.
Johnson. They're playing the Lions. I haven't even gotten to it yet. He's gonna smash. Absolutely.
And snacks, guys. Snacks.
And the big thing too is.
But in the passing game. Yeah, it's Larry Fitzgerald is gonna, and that's the play that John's gonna like in this game. Larry against. Nevin Lawson.
Yep.
In the slot, Larry Fitz.
Yep. You got it.
Yeah, their rook got hurt last week, right? So
they moved into the slot.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like they have nothing. No healthy people left. Like for receivers. I mean, it's Fitzgerald and then a bunch of. You still got J.J. Nelson there, Trent Sherfield, Chad Williams, and then they still have Ricky Seals-Jones. So I don't know. It just feels like a spot where DJ is going to be their offense big time, but it is at home. So I don't mind grabbing a little Fitzy shares because I feel like the home crowd there, like he's always going to score a red zone touchdown at home.
Yeah, I love Larry Fitz this week. I can see David Johnson, I guess, now that with like the Kirk injury and maybe I'm sure they'll try and design some passing plays for him. I don't think he's going to have any success running the ball though. So
what's Larry's success? What's like Larry Fitzy's like ceiling in a game like this? Like what's like the highest thing that he could possibly?
2 touchdowns.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
Bunch of targets.
1 game over 100. So high game, 12 targets. High yards is 102. So
that's a good segue for wide receivers. The guy at the top there, Keenan Allen, went ballistic against the Steelers. who was covering them, the linebackers. But another phenomenal matchup against the Bengals. Are you guys on? You guys have to have some interest there, no?
Yeah, for sure. Like if Melvin Gordon's not back, which I don't think he will be back, I think they lean on their pass game until this game's somewhat out of hand. Obviously, I brought up the Justin Jackson play. I think they can obviously milk the game with like their running backs, but these are unproven running backs. So I think until the game's over, they're just going to keep on passing. We've seen how efficient they are passing the ball. Like you said, Kirk, that Philip Rivers, I mean, he had a game that he was 28 of 29 2 weeks ago versus Cardinals. I think it's something similar where they can almost, pass, with their short game instead of running the ball here. So, I love Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I like Keenan Allen too. I more like Keenan Allen though when no one's on him.
And everyone doesn't love Keenan Allen.
Yeah, he's gonna be so chalky this week. He got 19 targets last game, and he only had 39. I'm not saying only, like 39. He had 19 targets. He had 148 yards, a touchdown, and 39 fantasy points. Is he getting 19 targets again? Probably not. They'll probably pepper him. He'll probably get 10 or 12 targets, but not 19. But it's still a good matchup. It's a great spot. I just think that I'll have him on some lineups, but I'm going to be lower than the field for sure. And it's a pivot spot for me. There's so many other guys that I'm just going to pivot towards, like Julio Jones and Tyreek Hill and Michael Thomas, Devontae, like all those guys in that price. I'm just going to pivot. People are going to just go up to Keenan. I'm going to go up a little higher and grab some of these guys that will be lower owned.
Lower owned. Yeah, Julio is definitely going to be lower owned. Michael Thomas,
Yep.
I don't think, not so much.
Tyreek will be. Tyreek will be.
Yep. Now, I'm telling you, the play is Juju.
Yeah, there's another one.
Anybody on board there?
Yeah, I'm more on team Juju over Antonio Brown. It's just what Juju is doing with his targets versus Antonio Brown. It's like you can see the torch being passed here. So, I'm all about Juju for sure. I really like just stacking the Indy at Houston game. I mean, T.Y. Hilton and Hopkins, I would assume is going to be popular, but T.Y. Hilton in turf or in a dome, just got to love utilizing his speed. And then Hopkins, I don't know exactly where his ownership will be if you think Keenan Allen's going to be super chalk, but it's a game stack that's very easy. The Colts last week, they still had Luck at 52 attempts. 16 targets went to Eric Ebron, 13 went to T.Y. So you know where that ball is going. And the Colts are still the fastest team in pace. And both defenses in that game stuffed the run. So Houston's number 4 DVOA versus the run, whereas Indy's number 2 DVOA versus run. So and they're very average to below average versus the pass. So that's a spot where I think there's going to be a lot more play or a lot more the pass to run ratio should be high. So it's a game that I definitely want to get a lot of exposure to.
Yeah, I think too, if you wanted to get contrarian or different, I don't know if I'm 100% on board with the fact that the torch is being passed and Juju over Antonio. I'd probably still go Antonio, but I think the way to be different here is to stack them both together with Roethlisberger. Everyone's going to place, Samuels in a stack with one of these guys, I think. So just differentiate, right? Like it's simple. For tournaments, you want to look to do what others won't. And most people are not going to take, 2 8+ K players at wide receiver on the same team, plus a $6,600 quarterback on DraftKings and pair them up. It just doesn't most people are going to take the cheap running back, take the QB, and choose one of those two guys. So the way to leverage that is to take them both and just hope that all the touchdowns go to these two guys. And it could easily happen.
And who leads all wide receivers in red zone targets?
Is it Juju?
It's Juju.
Is Juju?
Yep.
Okay, who's had 13 targets in the last 3 games?
Antonio Brown.
No, yeah. So honestly though, both these guys could end up smashing.
Yep.
Easily.
Yeah, it's the Raiders, and so could Vance McDonald. If he channels his inner Kelsey.
Yeah, I think this week too, I mean, there are a lot of good tight end plays. I have a lot queued up this week in comparison to the weeks past where I felt like I was choosing between 3 or 4 tight ends in prior weeks.
Hold that thought. I want to finish one wide receiver. I just wanted John's thoughts on Josh Gordon. Xavier and Howard out probably.
Yeah, so he looks like he's going to be out. I like Josh Gordon, but I think this matchup, the Patriots hand the ball off to Sony Michel 20-plus times.
That's what I think, too.
I also think that Gronk will be more involved this week. So I'll just get into it now because, tight end's coming up anyways. But so I know he's fully healthy. He's healed up from the back injury, the ankle injury that's been kind of hampering him the last, couple weeks. He's got a thigh bruise. That's why he was on the injury report on Wednesday, even though it said back and whatever. But he's totally fine now. He's off the injury report. For me this week, he's never been as cheap as he's been on DraftKings. I think he's $4,800. That's the cheapest he's been at since I've been playing fantasy sports, I think. So for me, I think this is a spot where I'd much rather have him over Gordon. A, no one's going there. But B, also, I think that Gronkowski, the Patriots are going to run, play action, and I think the middle of the field is going to be open for this guy on those play action plays. I think that they're going to look right to him. I think he's going to be a little healthier. He looked really slow last game. Just looked like he didn't have any gas.
Stiff as a board.
Yeah, he looked tired to me, honestly, and that was like one of the things that I heard, which was he actually felt tired going into the game, like before the game even started. He felt tired from whatever that week. So I don't know if that's 100% true. That's what I heard. But either way, I feel like this week he's going to go into it. He's going to make sure they're going to make sure the team makes sure he's not tired. He's going to be fully healthy. I think it's a good play. I think it's a low ownership play. No one's going to go there. Kelsey's going to be 30%. You got Kittle in a plus matchup. Zach Ertz is a really good play. I think he had like 42 against Dallas last time, and then Ebron's still there.
Ebron's a phenomenal play this week.
Phenomenal. So, but no one is going to Gronk. Everyone's paying up.
I would say nobody, just because of the price point.
No, nobody.
Yeah, 40 under 5K, it starts looking tempting. Like even I'm like a hater on Gronk this season. I think he's there for blocking purposes at this point, and then they'll roll him out in the playoffs. They'll just ruin him, and that'll be the end. This will be his last season.
He's done.
Yeah, he's cooked. But and he whatever, he gave it his all. But I cut Brett off. What were you saying about tight ends?
I mean, there's just a lot of tight ends. Like I feel like you have the 2 elite guys, right? Kelsey and Ertz. And they will take ownership away from each other, but I expect those 2 to be the highest owned on the slate. But then like if you're going cheap, I like Cameron Brate. Just because if Tampa Bay is going to keep this game close, he's still been getting like plenty of red zone work, and that's really what his role is. He got 2 targets. He's been targeting the red zone last 4 weeks. So I mean, at this price point, you're just like hoping for obviously a touchdown more than anything else. And then Ian Thomas steps into a role, the Greg Olsen role. He had 53 out of 70 snaps, and Greg Olsen isn't going to be playing. And at 2,700, I think this is a spot where we could see quite a bit. And Ian Thomas is actually pretty decent athlete. So I don't hate this going up against Cleveland, which Cleveland's been very susceptible versus tight ends all year.
What's his ceiling rate?
Well, the thing is, the Saints have allowed 1 touchdown all season to tight ends.
That too. But like, what is he? 6 target, 3 catch, 1 touchdown for 30, 40 yards. Like it's like 12 points.
Yeah, he hasn't showed much of a ceiling at all this week.
Yeah,
this year. It's more or less like just trying to find a spot where I expect him to get red zone targets.
He's got red zone.
But why not for 1,000 or 1,300 more? Just take Gronk, who's got the same type of red zone look.
Why not just take Ebron and get all those targets?
Yeah, or take Ebron.
Or take Njoku and hope for the matchup.
Because now at Ebron, you're already dealing with 5,700. So I mean,
this is one of those weeks where I don't understand paying down at tight end. It makes 0 sense to me. Like, I get it when there are weeks where you're looking for value and you use the tight end position as a value. There are way too many really good plays, especially at the top. Kittle, Ebron, Ertz, Kelsey, and I'm going to put Gronk in there too as the 5th guy. But they're all in plus matchups. And
throw Vance McDonald and Njoku and Njoku in there, and then you've got like that. I think I don't need to get crazy. Like I think those are.
I think that's it.
This is the first week where it's not like so chalky that you're like, ugh, I got to swallow 40% Ebron chalk. Of course you fade there.
Put Ebron up to where he should be.
Like we're gonna have like a bunch of spread out like decent play. It's just gonna be like pick your favorite ones here, and you don't have to get cute. Maybe like Lacoste now with like if you want to get cute at like a low ownership, really cheap guy. Maybe Jimmy Graham gets a boost with like Aaron Rodgers. Like he got a bunch of targets last week, I think.
And even like Kittle's gotten 32 targets, 21 catches the last 3 weeks. So I mean, at 5,500, that just seems like a really cheap for ownership wise.
This is a week where you want to get contrarian, play 2 tight ends, play two top price tight ends.
I thought that was totally in play last week with Kelsey and Ebron. But yeah, it's better from an ownership perspective this week. All right. Give me your favorite game. Each one of you just give me your favorite game.
For me, it's going to be Indy at Houston. Indianapolis got shut out last week at Jacksonville. So I don't know if people will be on that. Obviously, Luck didn't have any touchdowns, but we know that these defenses stop the run, and Indy is still the fastest team pace-wise. So I expect a lot more plays. Really like more of the Houston side of things here with like just comboing up Hopkins and Watson here, and then bringing it back with like a TY. Just feel very safe about this game going off.
Yeah, you can know this game. I mean, it's like you're right. Like this game, like you should know where the production's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yes, I mean, my game. I love the Chiefs game. I love the Chiefs every week. Every week when people see a matchup that they don't like, they see that red, that DVOA, that opponent rank, defense. It doesn't matter. Pat Mahomes is that good. This team is that good. I think they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have no success running the ball on the ground. This just sets up for Mahomes to sling it. They're at home. Hopefully Baltimore can, score some points too to like keep this game going. That's honestly my only worry. I really do believe that KC can score against this team at home.
One thing that I just want to discuss with you guys too is just the wide receivers in Denver. With no Emmanuel Sanders this week, Sutton should be the chalk again. I think he was the chalk 3 weeks ago when he burst onto the scene after the trade there. But I think Deshaun Hamilton is very interesting at the bare minimum at 3K. I remember him from college football DFS days at Penn State. This guy's definitely got an athletic profile. I'd be okay with rolling him out there. I've seen enough of Cortland Sutton to know that, hey, like if he's getting wide receiver 1 treatment, then I don't mind having Deshaun Hamilton here. So do you guys have any preference there? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, I like Philip Lindsay.
Okay, so you're not even gonna mess around with what the wide
I'm not there yet. Now that you've I'm worried about Cortland Sutton, like you said, getting that wide receiver 1 treatment, and I just don't expect them to be very good. I just think that Keenum is awful, and it's in San Francisco. I think this game's going to be kind of gross. I think they should be able to run on them, and Lindsey's explosive. So I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me yet, but I'll definitely look more at it. I was thinking Lacoste, if anyone.
Does Sherman move around, or he stays on his side, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's always stayed on his side. Like I have Sutton getting a Kello with Witherspoon, who's been really bad.
Yeah.
And then Deshaun Hamilton will get Quan Williams. So that's and both of those corners are definitely beatable.
So Sherman, who's getting Sherman?
Let me see here.
And they'll also move. Sutton will get some slot time now too. Like they'll use him like Emmanuel maybe for some.
So I have him getting Tim Patrick. But yeah, he's 80% of the time he's lined up on the right hand side of the field. Right. So whoever's on that side, I mean, they can probably throw any of the outside wide receivers there. So,
but who's going to run in the slot?
I have Deshaun Hamilton running most 60% of the routes run this year are in the slot, whereas Sutton's been on the outside. And
they'll move Sutton into some. I bet.
Yeah, not a high percentage on the year, about 25% for Sutton.
Yeah, but Emmanuel Sanders was there.
Correct.
As of
he'll
now,
take that Emmanuel Sanders slot playing role.
Right, but as of now, I think it's $3K. You know, if you need a punt wide receiver, I guess it's not the worst option. I don't know if I'm going to go there. I'm with Chris where I love Philip Lindsay, and Keenum's not that great, so that does scare me a little bit.
He sucks, okay?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, we still have to realize that Philip Lindsay is not a workhorse running back. He's not a guy that's going to get you 20 carries.
He's good.
He's just explosive.
But they're still going to have to pass the ball quite a bit, and you're dealing with a Denver offense that gets a really susceptible 49er defense here. Their cornerbacks are not good. We've been targeting them all year. So I think this is a spot where Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton, I mean, I can see them having 12 to 15 targets between those two.
Yeah, like I said, I don't mind it. He's $3K, right? Min price?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to get 70 snaps.
And the guy was a beast.
I'm kidding. All right.
Yes.
I love snaps. I love that people put everyone.
You want me to bring up routes run from now on?
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, the guy ran and no one ever even considered passing him the ball. But
hey, opportunity, baby. You got to be on the field. You got to be running.
You have to be on the field. The guy we should, All right, I'm gonna obviously my chalky game here is the Saints Bucks. Like I always like the Bucks games. I think Kamara is going to smash. He already has. We've got the script. I know it's not in New Orleans, but I think the play that's not going to get enough love is going to be Mike Evans, and because he gets Lattimore, but he absolutely abused him already. And the first time that they met this season in week 1, I think it was, where he had close to 150 and a touchdown. Yes, the Saints D has been playing much better, but they're also just elite against the run. And if they waste another goddamn play running Peyton Barber, I'm going to lose my mind. This guy sucks. Okay? He's so freaking bad. And
hey, by the way, I'm glad you guys finally bought into the Godwin. The last 2 years, so this year he's 24th in yards per route run, and last year's 13th in yards per route.
I like Godwin. I just didn't expect that when Deshaun's there. They just don't give him any usage. When Deshaun came out, he became a lock. It was like a lock. I'm always believed in his ability, and he's like a great red zone target. He's big. He's gets separation. He's good.
Are you guys still on board with him at 4,900 on DraftKings?
Yeah, absolutely. If Deshaun's out, definitely.
Yeah, it looks like Deshaun will be out.
And Adam Humphries again, the Humpty Hump.
Yeah, I like Humphries. I like Humphries a little more than Godwin this week. I think it's a better matchup.
I'll fade Bray. I mean, I think it's just easy again. I think and I think Mike Evans is
play them both.
Yeah, you can play any of these guys.
Yeah.
You just because you can run it back with a cheap Saints receiver, or easily, or you can run. It takes a little work to get Evans and Kamara in, but you can do it, especially with the $3,700 cheap running backs that we have. There's cheap plays everywhere. So like you can just take whatever pieces of this game you want, and you can figure out a way to make that build. So, and of course, if I got to make sure I throw some Keith Kirkwood in there. I have to. I got to do it for the name. That's my game. I get the fam, the Kirkwood family. It's the holiday season. Anyways, so all right, are we a wrap here? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm good.
John, did you? All right, I want to know. Did you cash it out? Or do you leave it in PayPal? Do you leave it on the site? What do you do when you have a couple $100,000 and you've already bought a house and what do you do with it?
No, it's coming out. It's coming out.
Is it still there as of today?
Yeah, as of today. Yeah.
He's upgrading the gym. He's putting another level on the gym.
You don't just start like taking on like Papa Gates and Empire Maker and like 10K head-to-heads or anything?
Damn well that's what Chris would do.
I would. I do. I absolutely would. Only when I'm on tilt though. Like
this is my change, baby.
It's the only thing that I can get. Cause it's just sitting there waiting for you. It's the 10K Papa Gates.
Please, if you do that, do not roster Giannis. Okay, if you're gonna go do that,
he burned me so hard the other night. I mean, I had the nuts. I had him and Cat. I had Anthony Davis and Cat all day sitting there in my lineup, and then that news breaks, and I had to like take Giannis over Anthony Davis. I thought, and that just that would killed me.
He was texting us all day yesterday, just
all night.
After Giannis just shits the bed, like it's just like, oh, I had the nuts, and then I had to get off of him.
I did. Like it was just like I had to like, and especially like once I saw his ownership, I thought it was like free money with Middleton out. I was like, oh my god, like nobody moved,
It wasn't the right play, man.
Either. I was with you. I played him.
I changed to Brook Lopez to Brolo, like must play, bro. I'm like must play. He's a must play.
The worst part about it is he does crappy, and they blow out Detroit.
Yeah, it was.
So it's like he doesn't even get his full minutes in.
He was so bad too. Like he just missed a couple shots. He got scared. Like he got like embarrassed, and then he like he got hacked, and the refs didn't call it, and he got pissed, and so he made like a stupid charge. He was just like out of control. Like he was just like not feeling that game whatsoever.
Yeah, that charge was absolutely ridiculous.
And then his team was like crushing without him, so it just didn't matter. And who
at least it wasn't like a Rudy Gobert situation where like I swear to God the ref had it out for Rudy today to like yank him. I mean, he got two ticky-tack falls, one right on the
they came out and they made those comments about how they get no respect and they get no calls. And Malloy, that ref the other night, I mean, on Doncic, these refs are out of control. It's time to get rid of every freaking NBA ref, smack them around, and put some guys in who will be accountable with their calls and not make it all about them. But anyway, I don't know how we got here at this point, but I said final thoughts, and you guys are talking about Giannis.
We got to go back to the days where the refs are betting on games and stuff.
I think Mangone pulled up in my RotoGrinders chat log history one time. It was like, I just mailed my dog's poop to this ref so-and-so or whatever. I was like, this was like from a couple of years ago, like just in like a random chat, RG chat.
Boy.
It's pretty funny. But all right, that's a wrap. No more final thoughts. I can't trust you guys with final thoughts. So, John, keep crushing it. Please let us crush it a little bit. KillaB, win that $50K from the Yahoo Championship.
We all won last.
We all won. We all crushed. So we are doing. Let's keep the mojo alive. One more week, right? Just one week at a time. 1 week at a time. 1 week at a time.
We got a couple more weeks. Come
on. Yeah, but let's 1 week at a time. Let's just win again this weekend. That's all it takes.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's go run the Jameis stacks back with Godwin and Humphreys.
There it is. Or with Mike Evans.
Or with Mike Evans for Chris.
All right, and that's a wrap. This has been the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast, and we'll catch you next week.